Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Co-Creators Global Village at World Unity Week. And you are in the Humanity as Organism Thrives Convergence Room. And we have the pleasure of having Nina Amir with us. And she has a very interesting topic, how to feed body and soul. To tell you a bit about Nina, Nina is known as the Inspiration to Creation Coach. As one of 800 elite certified high-performance coaches working around the world, she combines personal and spiritual growth strategies to help her clients achieve more inspired results and create lives that feed their souls. As an intuitive transformational catalyst, she works with people who want to realize their dreams, achieve their potential, fulfill their purpose, and live fully. Nina is also a best-selling author, certified law of attraction coach, certified rebirther, trained voice dialogue facilitator, and ordained minister. And you can find out more about her from her website, I will put in the chat. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here. I was so excited when you asked me.
That's great.
So you want me to just dive in?
The floor is yours.
Okie dokie. So welcome, everyone. Like I said, I'm super excited to be here. And I'm just going to dive in. So you've heard a lot during this event about feeding your body, I'm sure, but feeding and caring for your body, from my perspective anyway, is not enough. And the reason is that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. Therefore, to really thrive and be able to contribute to the whole, you have to not only feed your body, but your soul as well. If you don't do that, you could have an amazingly healthy and strong body, lots of energy, but feel like you're withering on the vine. You could lack passion and enthusiasm, inspiration, motivation, joy, love, creativity, kind of the spice of life. In other words, you're dead on the inside, but alive on the outside. And that's not a way to live, is it? It's hard to contribute to the energy field of all humanity or the earth when your energy is lacking from the inside. On the outside, it may all look good. You may feel good. On the inside, though, you're empty, you're starving, you're lacking nutrition. So to make your biggest difference, you have to feed all aspects of yourself, body and soul. But we're humans. We tend to focus on the body, the external expression of who we are. It's just as important, though, to focus attention on the soul, the internal expression of who you are. But too often, we let our souls starve. I'm going to kind of leave diet and exercise to the experts on that topic. What I know is the mental aspect of the body and the spiritual aspect, the soul. And that's the sandbox that I play in, that I invite you to play in with me for the next 30, 40 minutes or so. So let's start with your mind. One aspect of your body is your mind. And you've all heard about the mind-body connection. Your mind can heal your body or cause it to get sick. It depends upon what you feed it. Of course, there is the brain, which is, an organ in the body, and it needs proper proper feeding, water, oxygen, vitamins. But I don't really want to talk about the brain per se, because that, again, is not my wheelhouse. I'm talking about the mind. It's a mental function of the brain. And although, I probably have to stop and at least say that the spiritual side of you often communicates through the brain. And the pineal gland is said to be the seat of that spiritual activity. But we also process any incoming information through the brain's functionality. But as a human being, it's essential to consider how to nourish your mind, which is the source of thought. Again, not talking about nourishing your brain, nourishing your mind, that function of the brain. And thoughts are a form of nourishment, or they can be, but too often they're not. So your thoughts also not only impact, there's that mind-body connection, right? So thoughts are impacting your physical body, but they're also impacting your emotions. And I was always taught that thought precedes emotion. So kind of we think, therefore we feel. But one of my teachers also claims very adamantly that emotions precede thoughts. We feel, therefore we think. But however you look at it, both thought and feeling are impacting the health of your body, but also the health of your soul. So a question for you, are you feeding your mind? Yes or no? The answer is yes, because we feed our minds constantly. Every thought, every bit of informational input feeds the mind. And it feeds the soul. So unless we sit in silence with no distractions at all, there is always input. There's always thought. Even in meditation, our thoughts surface. So we're always feeding the mind. But like the body, you can choose what type of diet to actually give the mind. Are you giving it the wrong foods for better health and growth, or the right ones? Are you giving your mind the food that actually supports body and soul? Are you feeding it what, I don't know if it's just Jim Quick, but he talks about ants. Maybe that came from somewhere else before him, I don't know, but I'll give credit where I got the information. So are you feeding your mind ants, which are automatic negative thoughts? Negative mental chatter, old stories, judgment. Are you feeding it news, which tends to be negative and upsetting? Or movies and TV shows about violence? Are you feeding it romance novels and Facebook gossip? Is the diet that you give your mind creating thoughts and emotions that impede the health of your body and soul, like anger, discouragement, depression, jealousy, intolerance, and anything like that? Or are you feeding your mind things that help you thrive on all levels? Positive thoughts, inspiring and motivational messages, loving thoughts, inclusive thoughts, new positive information and learning that expands your consciousness. So consider that for a moment. What do you feed your mind? It's time to change your thoughts and therefore your emotions to ones that help you thrive and empower you, is it not? It's time to feed your mind in a way that helps you thrive emotionally, mentally, and physically, is it not? It's also time to feed your mind in a way that positively impacts your soul. You came into this lifetime, this body, for a reason, with a purpose. Your soul drives that. And therefore, your soul must be strong and healthy to accomplish it. But other than a little prayer or meditation, a retreat now and again, what do you do to nurture your soul, to feed it, to ensure it's healthy and strong and thriving? Whatever you feed your physical, mental, and emotional bodies impacts your spiritual body. Your soul is forced to struggle when, for instance, you have negative thoughts and emotions. And even worse is having no emotions at all, as in you feel numb, you feel caged and unable to live fully, and you've shut down. But your soul wants you to live fully. It wants you to feel everything. And it wants to inform your actions, even what you eat and the exercise you do, and the thoughts you have and the emotions you feel. It wants to guide you, especially around your purpose here on earth and how you can contribute to the health and healing of earth and humanity. So whether you call it soul, spirit, higher self, spiritual guidance, a gut reaction, doesn't really matter. It's your soul, and it wants to help you live an aligned life, an on-purpose life, a life where you can contribute. But for that to happen, you not only have to feed it positive thoughts and emotions, but also the things that make it sing, make your heart sing. It speaks to you through your heart. And yes, your gut instincts or intuition, all of that is coming from your soul. So the soul thrives on the activities that cause you to feel passion, love, excitement, enthusiasm, joy. Yeah, more joy, always more joy. And it grows stronger as you expand your mind and your consciousness. Expansion is its desired meal. Now, let me just say that I'm not immune to letting my soul starve. I really am not. As a matter of fact, for a number of years, I was at fault, big time, if you want to call it fault, of not feeding my soul. I was focused on all kinds of things that were on thoughts that caused me to have negative emotions. So negative thoughts, negative stories, old stories that just brought up negative emotions and old emotions. And I was focused on making money, and I was focused on doing the things I was told to do, living up to other people's expectations. And in the process of all of that, I forgot to feed my soul. And as a result, I felt like I was empty inside. I didn't feel much of anything unless it was negative. I did not feel many positive emotions, and I was not happy. And I lost my passion and my enthusiasm and all the things I've already mentioned. My mind was focused a lot of the time on lack, dislike of circumstances and relationships. I was angry a lot more than I cared to admit, even though I would tell everybody else that I didn't like their anger, but I was angry. I was closed down. I couldn't receive love or give it. I wasn't enthusiastic, passionate, excited. And yet I had a yearning to feel something, to do things that bring me joy, to love myself enough to do those things. And so I turned my attention to doing the things that feed my soul, like reading and writing and getting a new puppy who brings me lots of joy, to living somewhere where there are wild horses because I love horses, and to seeking out a place to go horseback riding again. And until then, to going and seeing those wild horses. I turned my attention to spiritual pursuits, to my transformation, my personal and spiritual growth. I turned my attention to finding like-minded friends and spending time with them. And I began to turn my business into one that mirrored these healthy soul foods, so that my business became a meal in and of itself that would feed my soul. So my business went from a focus that others told me to take to focus that I chose, to actually is personal and spiritual growth and my writing. So my business, as I said, and my life became healthy soul foods. That when I thought about soul foods, so that kind of just came to me as I was prepping for today. And I thought, well, why do we call it soul food after all? When we eat it, we feel something deep in our soul. It feeds us emotionally, right? And that, of course, changes what we're thinking about. We move into gratitude, right? Because we're grateful for the food we're eating, and it feels good to us on so many levels. That's soul food. But soul food doesn't always come in the food we actually intake. It's in other things. It's in the things that bring us joy and that we're passionate about and enthusiastic about. So you have to ask yourself, beyond soul food, what else gives you that sensation? What feeds your soul? So what I'd like to do, if it's okay, is to lead you through a meditation, a visualization. So this is a nice, safe place. And if it's okay with everyone, I'd love to invite you to relax and get centered and go with me on a little journey to your soul. So let's just take 3 deep, deep, deep breaths with me. Okay, so these are abdominal breaths, not up here in your chest. We're going to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth 3 times very deeply. You can go ahead and close your eyes. You do not need to look at me. You can put down your pen and paper, take your hands off the keyboard, and just get present here. Okay, so let's take 3 deep, deep breaths together. In through the nose, out through the mouth. You might even count in 7, out 11. One more for the count of 7 and out 11. Now imagine your physical body. Kind of in your mind's eye, get a sense for your body. Energy in it, where you feel a little tense, where you feel relaxed. You can take another deep breath and breathe into any area that is tense. But I want you to just become aware of your physical body. If you need to shake out your arms or your hands, if you need to adjust, it's fine. And just breathe into that and get a sense of your body. Also get a sense of the energy around your body. What do you feel in your auric field? When you feel as if you really are in touch with the physical part of yourself, as well as the energetic part that goes with your physical being, but primarily your physical being, I want you to imagine a space within your physical being, maybe near your heart or your solar plexus or your belly button, maybe somewhere else entirely between your shoulder blades. Just a place, a physical place within your physical being where your soul resides. Take a minute to just kind of scan your body and feel for that space within you where your soul lives. Now, of course, your soul is not something physical, and I'm asking you to look within your physical body. But it is said that your soul weighs about 21 grams. 21 grams disappear when you transition. Just poof, gone. And that's your soul leaving your body. So it does reside within your body. You may not be able to actually locate it and grab it and hold on to it like your heart in the physical body. It's energetic, it's spiritual, but you can discover where it lives inside you. Take another really deep breath. Let it out. Locate your soul. Once you've located it, give it a physical examination, as if you were a soul doctor, soul nurse. I want you to check its vitals, its vital signs. Does it appear to be energetic? Does it appear to, have the kind of soul beat rather than heartbeat that it should? Is it breathing well? Check its vitals. Now note your soul's appearance. How does it look? Does it look healthy? Does it have rosy cheeks? If it has cheeks. Does it look withered and skinny? Does it look plump? Does it look overly plump? Note its appearance. And check its vibration, because it's spiritual, it's vibration, it's energy. What is its energy level like? Check that too. Overall, does your soul look well fed? Or does it look now malnourished? So just like a doctor or a nurse, you go into the medical office, you're asked what ails you. Why are you there? Ask your soul, what ails it? How does it feel? What does it need support on to be healthier and to thrive and be strong and energetic? Ask it those questions and make note of the answers you get. What ails your soul? How does it feel? Take good mental notes. Now, ask your soul what it needs to grow and thrive and to help you do the same. What does it want or need to be fed? What diet does it want or need you to provide? Here, take good notes again, mental notes. What does your soul need to grow and thrive? Ask it that question and listen carefully to the response. And ask the question a second time, because just like when you go to the doctor's office or to a therapist, we sometimes leave the last bit of information, the most important information, to the end. So what's the most important thing that your soul needs to tell you about caring for it? Care and feeding of your soul. Now let's turn the tables just a little bit. As the caregiver, tell your soul whatever you feel the need to say to it. Whether that's, I'm happy you're doing so well. I'm happy that I've been doing a good job of feeding you and caring for you. Or that you're sorry that you haven't done as good a job as you might have. Maybe you need to tell your soul that you love it, that you'll take better care of it, that you've missed it if you haven't been in contact with it, that you want to call on it for guidance. Do you want it to show you how to fulfill your purpose? What is it that you want to say or need to say to your soul at this point? Take the time to do that. Okay, take a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Look at your soul and say, see you later. Not goodbye. Your soul is always with you. And now you know where to find it, how to access it. And you also know how to feed it. Take another deep breath or two. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you're ready, come back into our Zoom room. When you feel ready to open your eyes, I want you to pick up a pen and paper or put hands to keyboard and write down what your soul told you. You can even do this with your eyes closed if you prefer. I want you to take a moment and record as much of this experience as you can. Primarily, though, what your soul told you that it needs to thrive, how you are to feed it. You can also record what you saw or experienced or any of that. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Get present here in the Zoom room again. What I want you to remember always is that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. That is who you are. You are a twofold being, physical and spiritual. So focus on feeding body, including the mind and soul, because this type of holistic focus is going to help you grow and expand and transform and impact yourself first, and then all the people around you. Beyond that, your community, humanity, and the earth. And you're going to be able to do that at a higher level when you're feeding your soul. Plus, you're going to live more fully and reach your potential more easily when you focus on both your spiritual and your personal growth. When you're doing that, when you're living a life that feeds body and soul, you're going to experience more internal peace and internal unity internal expansion, and that vibrates outward, kind of like, the ripple effect. Your transformation is the pebble in the pond that ripples out. And the more you live a life that feeds your soul, the more impact you can have in the world. It starts with you living as you're meant to live. So if we all feed our souls, we would find ourselves co-creating a very different society and world. We'd also find ourselves having a very different experience of life itself. So when we do that, when we live from that place, when we live lives that feed our souls, we have the potential to impact the oversoul of humanity, because this is energetic, right? We impact the oversoul of humanity. And that's where real transformation begins to happen. So with that in mind, I'd say it's time to feed our souls. Wouldn't you agree? So I'm going to now let Hasina and Tom take over. I don't know why I keep saying Shamina, but Hasina and Tom take over, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, that's I love that, Nina. That meditation with the soul, and I didn't. Oh, as soon as I started, there was something saying to me, "Well, there's something counterintuitive about this. My soul's always well, And as I started with that, at that point, when I did ask the questions, what was interesting was the soul was saying, care for the body that houses me. And that wasn't just the body, it was the body, meaning the mind, and the physical body. When you said that, tell the soul what, how did you put it? Say something to the soul, to your soul. And my words were, our relationship is important, which was very interesting.
Yeah, and so for some people, caring for the soul is caring for the physical body that houses it, right? If they're not doing that, or if there are physical issues or health issues or whatever, or they're not taking care of their body. So for sure, that is part of it, right? And what did you say, the last part you said about what you told your soul?
Our relationship is important.
Yeah, and so that is a way of feeding the soul emotionally, right? Because sometimes we forget that maybe the care the soul needs is for us to just pay attention to it, to be in relationship with it, right? And if we're not doing that, then it's like a baby, right? A baby needs the contact and the emotional connection with the mother and the father, right? And so without that, it withers and dies. And so that relationship, and reminding the soul that you are in a relationship with it and that relationship is important, is part of feeding it. So I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody had questions. We have lots of time. I left lots of time for questions and discussion.
It speaks very highly to me. Excuse me. Speaks very strongly to me. Thank you. And that idea of being in relationship, being engaged, it confers a very deep faith. I wrote down, I hadn't written this originally, but just as you were speaking, I wrote, I only need you to listen. And that it's almost as if I know the answer is yes, right? And I know you're going to give me what I need. And I only need you to attend for real and be here profoundly. It's a really great idea.
To listen to your soul.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I had the same experience too. My first response was, well, I'm in good shape. I'm fine. Good. I'm well. There's nothing here. And what came out was the two things that were most strong were music. I need more music.
Mhm.
And then primum non nocere, first do no harm, the Hippocratic oath. And it was as if my soul said, uh, it said stop, and my brain said, I don't know what I'm doing. And I could, there wasn't a dialogue. I didn't hear the words, but I could feel that tension. Like the feeling was, stop hurting me.
And so how are you hurting it?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying my brain was fighting back, saying, "What? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing everything right."
So
You-
if I may, can I ask you a couple questions about that?
Yes, please.
So you said that your soul wanted you to listen, correct? But you also need to stop. Were those were the two messages, right?
Yeah.
So how can you listen more? Stop talking and start listening. Sometimes it's also stop doing and start listening. Like for me, that was definitely it. Like I recently dropped out of a program that was taking up a bunch of my time because it was like, I need to be still. Like I just, how can I tap in and take care of my soul if I am so busy that I can't hear? Does that make any sense to you?
That makes huge sense to me. I've missed being on retreat. I started practicing yoga maybe 15 years ago or so, and regularly would take weekend retreats for several years. And I don't do that very much anymore. And I met a woman last month who had just come off a year of silent retreat, a year of solitude.
Mhm.
And I thought, and I was so jealous. And I thought, I want that. I want a year of solitude, silent retreat.
But what if you don't have to have a year or a weekend of silence
Right.
to hear your soul? What becomes possible, or what would that look like if you can listen and hear your soul in any time?
Well, do you see what you just brought? You brought a break in the clouds, and it would look like knowing the sun is there all the time. Like it would, it's just a check-in, it's just a momentary tap in.
Right. When we stop doing and talking and we just ask, right? And then listen. So I had this conversation with someone just yesterday. That's why it's very forefront on my mind, because we all think that the only way we can tap in to our soul and to our spiritual guidance is by somehow, creating this year of silence or the weekend of silence or whatever. But in fact, our soul is with us all the time. And therefore we can tap into intuition or its guidance or whatever you want to call it in a moment. We don't have to have an hour of meditation. We can just stop, as your soul told you, stop for 30 seconds and say, what is it I need to know? What is it you want to tell me? And that's a relationship, as Hasina was saying, that's a relationship with your soul that may be the only thing that's missing. It's you acknowledging it's there and spending some time with it during the day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Beautiful.
If you took a year off, I'll just ask you this one question. If you took a year off to be silent, do you think that's what your soul needs to help you make a difference, to contribute, to step into your best self so that you can make the biggest difference that you want to make in humanity?
Well, I certainly don't think so, no. But that's what I was offering as the challenge, is to let go of what my ego and my intellectual understanding of things, my own cognitive addictions. I'm addicted to thinking that I've identified important things, projects, initiatives, whatever, and that I'm committed to those. So my brain thinks I'm committed to those things, and I wonder if I really am sometimes.
Well, and you
I
could
would
test that out. You could test that out. I mean, like I said, I believe that we come here with a soul's purpose, that our purpose knows, our soul knows what we're meant to do here, and it guides us to that. Now, does that mean that you can't surrender and step back and allow? No, you could. And maybe it's, like I said, an experiment you need to take or make, with, what happens when I take a month off? Do I feel more on purpose? Do I feel less on purpose? Do I feel like I'm not contributing? How much of that is just my need to do? No, it would be an interesting experiment, would it not?
Yeah, for lots of people, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
That's the thing that would stop me, is the impact. It's, we're all part of so many different quilts of, if I take myself out, what happens to the fabric of the thing? That's probably a trust issue too, in the greater ecosystem of my social networks and professional networks.
Right. And sometimes we don't put in place people who can do some of what we do, so that we and trust them, so that we can step back and have the time to tap into our soul and to feed our soul in other ways, right? And then come back with our soul much healthier than it was before, and our mind healthier than it was before, so that we can do the work.
Hasina and I've been talking about that quite a lot, outsourcing and leveraging and trusting the skill sets of the amazing people around us.
Because, if you're a visionary, then you have to keep tapping in. You have to take care of your soul and tap into that in order to continue to have the vision. It's the old, working in the business or working on the business, right? But it does take trust. And for a lot of us, we are so entrenched in the doing, and our brain, our mind keeps telling us that we need to keep doing, that we're not sure. And that's where taking, it might be a weekend, might be an hour, taking some time to ask your soul, what is it that's my next best step? And I often talk about, I don't know if Hasina's ever heard me talk about this, but that it's when we're aware of what our purpose is, and we combine that with what we're passionate about, that we get inspired. And then when we're inspired, there's that moment where you know what your next inspired action is. And that leads to inspired results. But if you don't slow down a little bit and stop, right? And actually ask yourself, your soul, what is it? Am I still clear on my purpose? Am I clear on what I'm passionate about? And do I feel inspired? And if so, then what is my next best step? What is my next inspired action? Then you can't get to the next level of inspired results. And by tapping into that, you're again feeding your soul, because then your soul is allowed to say, this is the next thing for you to do. Trust that this is the next step. And maybe that looks like stepping back, or maybe it looks like doing something different, or who knows, right? That's part of it.
Is that what you meant by oversoul? I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit more about that term, oversoul.
It's interesting because I rarely talk about that. And I really sat down this morning and kind of channeled what I wanted to say, and that came out. And to me, think about it like a mastermind. The concept of a mastermind is that you get a bunch of people in a room, and their thinking, their minds become a mastermind over the top of the group. So everybody's energy and thoughts and souls and all of that are combined to come up with new, to help come up with new ideas, right? To me, oversoul is the same. So as we work on feeding our soul, as we work on our own personal and spiritual growth, because again, we're physical and spiritual. So we have to work on both personal and spiritual growth. As we do that and we're transforming and expanding, we expand all of humanity. That's the oversoul of all the souls together that are here on earth. That's how I see it. So the more we work on ourselves, again, it's that ripple in the pond, right? We're dropping our pebble into this sea of souls and impacting them. That's how I see it. And when it came to me, I was like, oh, wow, that's really powerful. So thank you for asking about that, because it was something that just showed up.
Great, thank you.
That's amazing that you said that. Am I still connected? Give me a second. Yes, I'm connected. As you were talking about oversouls, we just got told this morning that we have load shedding, mandatory power cuts here in South Africa. So we had no time to prepare for this. And I said to Tom, just be on standby, please. And it showed that my computer had something like 30 minutes left. And I thought, okay, I'll just let the universe handle it. Well, it's 20 minutes earlier and the lights have just come on. So, and that was when you mentioned oversoul, the collective.
Oh, the lights came on when we talked about that?
Yep.
Oh, that's given me chills.
Wow, so you brought out the sun in the northern hemisphere and you turned the lights on in the southern hemisphere. Not too
There we
shabby.
go. See, that's the oversoul. To me, I mean, I don't know if either of you have something to add to that. I am totally open. Like I said, it just got channeled in this morning.
I've never heard that term. It's a beautiful term. Yeah.
I've heard it before. I just never used it. So I really appreciate you, Tom, asking me about it, because it gave me a chance to really kind of think it through on a bigger level. I was just like, okay, that came through, I'm going to say it.
It feels to me, all the ways we talk about collective consciousness still feels very three-dimensional. And the way you described it felt very fifth-dimensional and almost paradoxical, because we have a distinction in the deep time work. They call it interiority. And it's an inside out ishness, but it's a sacred responsibility for the collective, right? So it's a sacred responsibility for the matrix of every living system, creature, being, and it almost felt like that there's a spark of the divine in each of us that knows the communication with that oversoul, as you called it. And it's something more than collective consciousness, because collective consciousness just kind of, we can tweak here and there with the already manifest, the already existing, and it doesn't lend itself to very much evolution.
Right, but the way it feels to me is that we are, as we live lives that really are connected to and feeding our souls, we are impacting that oversoul that is all of humanity. And that's where true co-creation happens.
Amen.
Because if we're trying to expand consciousness or heal the world or whatever, right? That if we are connected to that oversoul, then we are impacting all of that. A bit like a bit like what they talk about with meditation, like the TM meditators will say, well, meditate and they can impact like the crime in an area or whatever, because their meditation is impacting more than just themselves. That's how it feels to me.
Wow. I don't even want to move from that topic, even though I do want to ask you another question, that, we were communicating, we were in communication with our souls during that meditation. I have a client who, her mind is so busy, and even though she's had an Akashic record reading from me, and she believes in the whole mind-body spirit relationship, she doesn't seem to connect too much because there's so much busyness inside of her. So when I'll say that, do you feel that, or make her feel the energy between her hands, she can't really get that. What happens if someone doesn't feel connected, they're struggling to connect? How can one nurture, or how can they nurture their soul? What's your take on that one?
Well, that's another case of, as you said, being too busy, like just doing. And I work a lot, and when I work with people, I focus a lot on who they're being, right? And so we're not human doings. I mean, we live in a physical world. If we want to manifest something, there's action involved, right? So we have to do. But on the other hand, we are human beings, and that being part is the soul. And so I think I would ask her to do, I'm in a program where every quarter I'm asked to do 4 hours of stillness, not meditation. Meditation is a doing. Just go sit somewhere for 4 hours and do nothing. Don't talk to anyone. Don't water the plants. One time I did do that for about 20 minutes because my doing came up, right? But so, just spend time being and see what comes up. The other part of this idea of being is identity. Like, who does she choose to be? Like, what identity does she want to have? Does she want to have the identity of someone who is a human doing and to be busy all the time and never connected to her soul? Because if that's not who she wants to be, the remedy is to choose a new identity. So for me, and you may remember this, Hasina, because you gave me readings during that whole time where I was trying to shift, I had to make the choice to be someone who lives a life that feeds my soul. Am I 100% there yet? No, but I have made big progress, right? And so that's an identity shift. I'm not going to be a person who's constantly running around and doing, especially not doing the things that other people think I should do. I'm going to do what feeds my soul, right? And that's who I'm going to be, because when you choose your identity and you step into that and you're being whoever it is you want to be, so being someone who feeds their soul, then you will do the things that allow you to have what you desire, right? And so if the desire is to be connected to my soul, to live a life that's passionate and joyous and exciting, and it's coming from my soul, that's feeding my soul, then I have to first choose to be that person. And then I will develop the habits and behaviors that go with that identity. It's amazing. You can change your habits like this when you change your identity. Because if you say, for instance, that you've always you're being a coffee drinker, and then you decide to not be a coffee drinker any longer, you do not drink coffee. Because only coffee drinkers drink coffee. And if you're not a coffee drinker, if you are now a green tea drinker, you will only drink green tea. And then you will have the effects, whatever it was you wanted, like better health or whatever, right? And so it's the same when somebody is doing all the time and can't tap in. They have to decide they want to be somebody different. And then they will do the aligned actions that will allow them to have whatever it is they want to have. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Oh, that made a lot of sense. I love the identity, the identity shift. It's quite a concept. And I think that's a great thing. And Nina, you have so many gems like that. If people want to reach out to you, how could they, if they wanted to work with you or reach out to you?
So there's a contact form on my site, ninaamir.com. So NINAAMIR.com. I don't know if you put that in the chat. They can also reach out to me directly via email. It's just nina@ninaamir.com. And yeah, I offer a variety of types of one-on-one coaching, both a combination of personal and spiritual growth, more like what we talked about here. I also do high performance coaching, and I have my Inspired Creator community where they can get group coaching on both personal and spiritual growth and training as well, and that sort of thing. So those are all ways, and everything is on my site, ninaamir.com. And I'm open to questions too. If they want, they can reach out to me on social media. I'm almost everywhere as Nina Amir. And so, if anyone watching or listening has questions, reach out. I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, because I know there'll be people listening to the replay, so that's great. Thank you so much. And just reminding everyone that if you'd like to reach out and get to know more about the speakers in the Co-Creators Global Village, and in the Humanity as Organisms Thrives Convergence Room, you could reach out to Tom or I. And Tom, if you can just give people your email or how they can reach you. And
Sure, and remember, they can register at peaceofcreation.com, PEACE of creation.com. That will get you access to the Trello board, which has all the contact information for the speakers, and we'll be sending out replays too there. Yeah. But mine's easy too. Thomas Acklin at yahoo.com, ThomasAcklin.
awesome.
Thank you both for inviting me.
Thank you,
I was
Nina.
really honored to be here and to be part of this event. So thank you both, Hasina and Tom.
Thank you
you
for bringing
so
up the sun.
much.